CTQ. So CTQ description and which KPC will be impacted by the control. So we give you an option to select. So whatever is entered in this grid here is captured here so that we can take it ahead.
So CTQ, for those of you who do not know, is critical to quality. So Applied Materials defines a KPC. That's part of our last page in the drawing. What are the critical dimensions of strength that you have to measure 100% of the time? And in the CTQ is more of your internal control. You may have one or two CTQs, or you have more than one or two. How are you going to ensure that you're going to maybe you have some in-process measurements or something that you in the prior steps you would be doing? So that's what we want to enter over here as the CTQ, and you can tie it to any one or more specific KPCs on that bar. Okay.
Fine. So again, the chat feature here, very specific to KPC. We can have discussions here. Once we're done, we can just mark it as pending review or just exit. Next tab is Design FMECA. Again, it will only be enabled if the part type is OEM. If it's BTP, build to print, it will not be enabled and you are not required to fill any information. If it is OEM, we expect you to fill the information. So it's very generic from AMAT perspective. Again, the fields are very generic and pretty much common and standard across the application. The header tab, very common. We can mark it as we can put the design engineer's name, project team's name, right? And then mark the status to pending review if the data is correct. I'll briefly cover here. So design FMECA have current severity, occurrence, and detectability. The AMAT standards have been implemented here. So the values are 10, 5, 1. So we define here how and when to rate 10, when to rate 5, and when to rate 1. So this is pretty common on the occurrence and detectability too.
Yeah, Devesh. So this is slightly different, guys. So recently within Applied Materials, in the past we had a continuous scale 1 to 10. And there was a lot of subjectivity in that. So we were looking at the industry standards and what a lot of the other companies were doing, and then kind of we came from them. So we kind of to remove away any kind of person-to-person judgment. Either it's a 1, it's a 5, or a 10, right? So we only gonna give you 3 options to choose. You cannot put it's a 2 or a 3 or a 6 or a 7 kind of stuff. So it's 1, 5, or 10. It's up to you guys to say based on the past experience what that is going to be. And then it's automatically going to change the color if it's over 100, the RPN and criticality over 20. And then if it's such a case, you would have to put in what the corrective action is to reduce those. So that for the DFMECA as such is not changed, but the scoring criteria, instead of being a continuous 1 to 10, it is now 1, 5, or a 10 that you can select for your RPNs. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Devesh.
Right. Thank you, Sarup, for covering that. So that's the rankings we just discussed. Coming out, let's go to other tabs. So sub-tier supplier identification. So this is where we talk about who the sub-tier suppliers are. Again, very generic features. Before I go into other details, I'd like to highlight some fields here. We want the sub-tier supplier name, the country, sub-tier service provider, whether they are special process provider, part fabrication, part, or raw material. So in case you are choosing raw material, we will want you to put that raw material name. When were they last audited? Again, this is not a mandatory column, but then we need that.
So one of the things that we are kind of trying to understand the sub-tier chain also is because we are living in a global environment where there could be at any moment some kind of disturbance in some part of the globally, some part of the world, right? So if there is such, at least for our critical PQP parts, we should be able to search down, okay, What are my paths impacted from this? Either the supplier is in that region, or the sub-tier source, or the